Hey guys, welcome back to S2 Performance. I am Stu, and we're going to be talking about our top secret methodology that we use here that we're going to expose. We're going to blow it all up today. We're going to talk about it in depth. And just kind of wanted to start this by saying that this is probably going to be kind of a long video because there are 11 components that go into the fitness methodology, the S2 method that we use, and that does not include macro-based nutrition. That is just the fitness end of things, has 11 limbs to it. So little lengthy video, take your time in watching it, and hopefully you'll learn a little something. And I just wanted to start by saying our methodology absolutely flies in the face of every fitness trend that I can think of right now, which is quick, easy, cheap. Everybody is looking for solutions to fitness, exercise needs, and the marketplace is just inundated like it never has been ever since I have been doing this, and I've been around for a while. I've been around since Jane Fonda. So I've seen a lot of trends come and go, but the turnkey revolution, the introduction of the franchise, and everybody's idea about needing to own and be an entrepreneur these days has really skyrocketed the amount of franchises you see in fitness. And because of that, people need to keep coming up with the new gimmick, the new thing. And there is no shortage. They're coming up every single day. And I want to tell you that I really wish that it was quick. I really wish it was easy. I wish the solutions were as available as these franchise fitness models that are out there. But it is not the reality. And it also depends on what are your goals that we'll talk about here in a second. You know, if your goals are just exercise, if you are sedentary, you're not moving, then you know what? You just need to get up out of your chair and go walk 5 minutes every week. The next week, walk 10 minutes every week. The week after that, walk 15 and add 10 push-ups. Things like that can really mean a lot of difference. But what I'm talking about here today are for folks out there who are looking for performance, who are looking for results, who are tired of the bullshit, who are looking for science. They want something that is going to work, that applies to their body. It's individualized. And if we put the recipe together and we work the numbers, we work the program, this program will work for anybody, anywhere, if you follow it. So let's take a look at it a little bit more in depth. So when we're talking about getting started on a fitness regimen, we need to be really serious about setting goals. If you don't have goals, pretty soon you're just going to be spinning your wheels and you're going to be back where you were before. And you have to have goals in everything you're doing. And specifically, they need to be SMART goals. They're specific, they're measurable, they're attainable. If you're setting goals that just aren't attainable, I want to run a 100-mile race in 30 days and you can't even walk 5 miles. That's a problem. So they have to be attainable. You should be reaching for goals, but they should be attainable. They should be realistic. Once again, they should be something that you feel like you can accomplish in a certain amount of time, and that's the last part of this, is everything should have a timetable. Every goal should have a timetable. Now, I try with every single client that comes in to create these SMART goals and to set up a parameter, especially a timeline when we're looking at, you know, what do we want to accomplish, how are we going to get there, and in what amount of time. And that keeps everybody on task, that keeps you accountable, that keeps you accountable to me and me to you. And you know, our clients are very much a victim of it, just like everybody else. You kind of get into this rut where you're just, once again, you're just exercising again. You're goalless. You're just showing up and going to class. And that's better than nothing. But you need SMART goals. And once again, they need to be specific. They need to be measurable. They need to be attainable, realistic, and in a timely manner. The second component to the S2 method is periodization. And maybe you've heard about periodization before, maybe not. But basically, if we look at periodization, we're looking at small parts of time or a microcycle and longer pieces of time, maybe a whole year, a whole training calendar that's a macro cycle. Now, a coach's job is to take you and your SMART goals and then to figure out how we can increase intensity over a certain amount of time. And before you start to burn out or stall, and we're seeing results start to wane, we actually put a rest cycle in where we're pulling you out of training, we're allowing your body to recover, your mind to recover, hormones to get normal again, create a certain kind of homeostasis. And if we do this correctly and we start in our bases here, the next time we come back and start training hard again, our new base is here, and on and on and on. And it's this step ladder where we're always increasing performance levels. But there's a coach, there's somebody looking at your training and your intensity variables and making sure there's peaks and valleys, that we're not just steady state training, and arguably probably will always lead to overtraining and injury. So periodization is an absolute essential component. All right, guys, number 3, FMS, functional movement systems. There must be some type of ongoing system that the coach is using to evaluate the movement of the practitioner. And what we're looking for is asymmetries or imbalances in the movement patterns or the muscle systems that give us an idea that there's a possibility of injury down the road. Now, what we can't do is predict on such and such a day that you're going to have an ACL blowout because you failed XYZ test. The FMS screen should not really be used for that. What we're looking for is asymmetries, imbalances in the body, and muscles that are over or underactive. If they're overactive, we need to have stretches that relax that muscle and put it back in its proper form and alignment. If they're underactive, then that muscle needs certain activators, especially preceding any kind of resistance training. So the coach, and it's, I have my own systems that I've created along the years, but a coach must have some kind of ongoing evaluation where he's looking at the movement of the client, making sure that any asymmetries, any imbalances that are arising, we're dealing with certain stretches for overactive muscles and certain type of activators to encourage muscles that are just kind of sleepy and not doing their job to wake up, especially before we're doing strength training. All right, guys, moving right along. There are 10 dimensions to this thing called fitness. I know it's hard to believe, and that says it all right there, that fitness just isn't as easy as we would like it to be. There's 10 dimensions. There are 5 wellness and 5 performance variables. The 5 wellness are muscle endurance, cardiovascular endurance, body composition, your muscle to fat ratio, strength, and flexibility. You must have all 5, or we haven't even begun to start thinking about this thing called fitness. Now, there's 5 performance variables: speed, reaction time, agility, power, and balance. 10 components. So every fitness program should represent all 10 of those components. If you don't have those, you arguably really don't have a very good fitness program. And I'll give you a for instance. People who really like to do strength training tend to just lift weights. They hate doing cardio and they despise doing any kind of flexibility training. Now you can contrast that with my yogis out there who just basically would say yoga is all you need. You don't need strength training, you don't need cardio, you don't need those things. That is incorrect. Yoga should be an inclusion of a fitness program. Strength training should be an inclusion of a fitness program. All these limbs, you are as good an athlete as you are in every one of those variables. And likewise, you are a weaker athlete the more specific you are in any one of those variables. 10 components. All right, guys, number 5. It is really important to understand the body has 2 big fuel tanks, one over here and one over there. And I like to explain it like a locomotion or a train. Think about having your engine in the front of the train pulling the train. This is your sugar metabolism. This is the metabolism that you would be using during high intensity interval training. Excessive heart rate's 80 to 100%. You're primarily pulling glycogen out of your muscle and liver. Now, one reason that this is so important is if we don't pull that glycogen out of the muscle and liver, your body has absolutely no need to metabolize fat. So if we're not doing those high intensity variables, if we're not training at high heart rates, your body probably is going to be slow, if not completely sluggish, in fat metabolism. So we got sugar over here pulling the train. Now, down here on the caboose is our fat metabolism. That's a lower intensity, a totally different type of training. Heart rates, think about 80 to even 60% of maximum exertion. So fat metabolism needs to be in there, and there's been a lot of misguided information about the fat burning zone and whatnot. You have your specific fat burning zone, and the only way we can truly know what that is to do a VO2 test and to look at the substrate analysis, to look at how your body is actually metabolizing fats and then carbohydrate or sugar stores as your heart rate is increasing. But 90% of the time, general idea is somewhere around 75% max heart rate is going to put you at an optimum fat burning zone. But once again, what is your 75% max heart rate? If you don't have a VO2 test, you don't have a substrate analysis, you really don't understand how to optimize both those energy systems. So you need to be thinking about that. All right, guys, number 6, intensity variables that we just talked about a little bit. I measure intensity here at S2 two different ways. One is heart rate. What is the percentage of 100% heart rate max, your heart rate max? And there's one of two ways we can do that. Just talked about a VO2 test. We can also do a perceived exertion test and just basically get on a bike, get on a piece of cardio. I've got a video on this subject. Go back and watch it. Learn how to do it. Because if you're using age or any other algorithm to determine what your max heart rate is, you're missing the boat. I'll guarantee it's not accurate. So we need to know what our 100% max heart rate is. Then everything is going to be set off that. You need certain times of the week where you're doing high intensity training. You need certain times of the week where you're doing low intensity training. And everybody who trains here at S2 just automatically falls into that calendar. They don't always know, but it's always happening here as the week goes by. It's always periodized, it's always progressed. We're always moving through different types of metabolism. So you must be training in two types of intensity. One is based on your heart rate. The second is how much weight are you moving? How much weight, how much volume are you incurring? That really needs to be measured. It needs to be thought of. You need to know and get a good understanding of how much intensity your body is experiencing, because we can move into too much overtraining, too much load isn't good. If we're not getting enough, once again, it's a stress thing. If I give my body too much stress, I'm going to break it. If I don't give it enough, it's not going to adapt. And adaptation is key. Two types of intensity. Number 7, if you can't tell by now, gosh, we got a lot of stuff going on here. We have to be introducing technologies. Technology has to be our best friend, and we offer it in a lot of different levels I'm not going to get into here at S2, but you need to be thinking about a heart rate monitor. You need to be thinking about fitness trackers, ways that you can record volume and intensity variables. Any and everything that you can record is data that we can come back with these SMART goals, and instead of talking about, maybe, possibly, we've got objective data. We've got you on a spreadsheet. The more of it you can get, the more you integrate technology. Don't drive yourself nuts, but find a way. Find systems that work for you. And there's a lot of things out there on the market, and a lot of them are free. So you must be doing heart rate training. You must be recording your workouts with as much specific data, exercises, weights, reps, all the above, as much as possible. Number 8, metabolic disruption. Metabolic disruption is a term that I've coined. I kind of made it up. I'll tell you the truth. But what I'm doing is taking two scientific principles or physiological symptoms that people would experience, especially after doing a HIIT. One is the amount of breakdown, muscular breakdown that people are experiencing forces the body into this recovery system. It takes a lot of energy for your body to recover post-HIIT, especially if we've got an appropriate amount of intensity in this small period of time. The more we pack that intensity into that small period of time, the more breakdown we experience. So contrast that with doing an exercise and taking a 5-minute rest break. You're not gonna see a lot of muscular breakdown happen necessarily in a small period of time. It would take hours to experience that. Not that you would not have some type of muscle breakdown, but the more we pack that intensity into a smaller period of time and force our muscles to recover, the more you're going to see breakdown in the muscle, the more you're going to see the body trying as hard as it possibly can to recover from that. That raises the BMR, the basal metabolic rate, your resting metabolic rate, and overall capacity to burn body fat. The second is EPOC, excess post-oxygen consumption. You've heard a lot about it. There's a lot of companies confusing people about it. Let me clear it up for you. You can experience EPOC just by jumping up and down for a couple of minutes, all right? If we're talking about EPOC from aerobic training, running on a treadmill, you're probably going to experience a 5% total caloric expenditure from that workout. So if you burn 1,000 calories, which is just about impossible, you're going to burn 50 calories after that from EPOC. But if we're talking about resistance training, if we're talking about strength training, that number goes up to somewhere around 15%. If we're talking about resistance training and we pack in all this work to this small amount of time, the EPOC is that much greater. Metabolic disruption is my way of talking about these two big variables. This is where, when we're talking about body composition, this is where this 30-minute workout absolutely works better than anything that you're going to do. We're going to pack in as much intensity, as much volume as we can into that 30 minutes. If we do that, your body is going to have to recover from it. It's going to require a lot of calories to do so, and EPOC going up, fat metabolism going up. Number 9, NVFF. Yep, I made this one up too. Neurovascular fascial facilitation. It's all right there if you think about it. Neuro. We have to establish some type of mind-body connection, mind-muscle connection in which we are intentionally thinking clearly, focused on the muscles that we are working. If this never happens, you're just moving through space and you're never really going to get the results you're looking for. Not in the terms of how you look, and definitely not in the way your body functions. There must be a mind-body connection being established there. Vascular. We want to push as much blood into the muscles as we possibly can. If we have nutrient flow, we have great stuff happening. The muscle's going to grow, the muscle's going to recover. You've got to push as much blood into the muscles as you possibly can. Fascia. The fascia is connected from the head all the way down to the tip of the toe. It is one solid lengthwise piece of fascia. All the muscles in your entire body, if you're individualizing exercises, no matter what it is that you're doing, you are exercising every single muscle in your body. The fascia is connecting all the dots. Therefore, movement must be precise. You must be moving through exercises that train your body as one functional anatomical unit. There is a time and a place for isolation exercises. It's not that they should not be done. It's just there's a time and a place. If all we're doing is isolating, if all we're doing is pushing on a pressure plate, if all we're doing is hooking a stem up and running electricity into the muscles so that it will fire and not atrophy, we're missing the point. The body is made to move. You need to move it, and it is one functional anatomical system surrounded by this sheet of fascia. So think about, how do I combine all those things? How do I get this mind, muscle connection, this mind-body connection. How do I get as much blood flow into my body as possible? How do I choose exercises that get my body to move as one functional anatomical unit from the tip of my head to the tip of my toes? Number 10, progressive overload. And I'm talking about our two types of intensity again. What were they? Heart rate and the amount of weight that we're moving. We must be progressively trying to experience a little bit more intensity via heart rate, a little more intensity with the weight that we're using. And once again, come back to periodization. We can't just keep doing this in a straight line. You can't just be adding more intensity, more intensity, more intensity. At some point, your body will break. It will be too much stress. You're going to get injured or just burned out and stop training. But you must be experiencing some type of progressive overload. Otherwise, there's no reason for your body to adapt anymore. Last but not least, number 11, recovery. And when I'm talking about recovery, I'm talking about 8 hours of sleep every night. Real deep REM sleep. Most people are not getting that, but if possible, if you're training, you're going to need 7 to 8 hours every night. Sleep is one of those things that if you're deprived of it, it will add up. It will add up. So if you're getting 6 hours and you need 8, your body needs 8 to 9 hours, you're losing 3 hours of sleep. That will accumulate. Now, the good thing is you can get it back. You can take more naps. You can find ways to start increasing and finding times that you can take naps, sleep, recover as much as possible. But not just sleep. We're talking about SMR, self-myofascial release, stretching, taking off days, meditation, anything that we can do to lower stress levels, lower cortisol levels, because again, if we're stressed out, you can forget about the benefits of fitness. You can forget about fat metabolism. It's not going to happen. So how do we sleep? How do we recover? How do you find time to do that? And please understand, all these other variables, everything that I've talked about means nothing without getting that sleep, getting that recovery. I hope you guys have enjoyed all this and you take it to heart. Understand that I'm not trying to complicate things. I'm actually trying to simplify them because this is a roadmap that's taken me 25 years of consistent training and 5 years of very intense research and development to unequivocally tell you I know exactly what it takes to get you in the most amazing shape of your life. Age is not a factor. Injuries aren't factors. Those things aren't factors. If we look at this program development and we just simply place ourselves at where we are, we're honest, we honestly assess, we honestly are open and talk about our goals and move forward slowly, incrementally with a coach, nothing is impossible.